Today we are going to talk about the late Christopher Hitchens, an English-American author, columnist, social commentator, and outspoken critic of religion. Christopher Hitchens wrote the New York Times bestseller, God is Not Great: How Religion Poisons Everything, and describes himself as the following. I'm not an atheist so much as an anti-theist. I not only maintain that all religions are versions of the same untruth, but I hold that the influence of churches and the effect of religious belief is positively harmful. Before we begin, I want to say that as a Christian, I do not agree with Christopher Hitchens in the slightest. However, I harbor no ill will against him. And as most Americans do with Brits, I found him to be quite charming, if not entertaining. I particularly admired his desire not to bore anyone.
I'm wondering if I'm boring anybody now.
I did not begin studying Christian apologetics until after he passed, but I appreciated the respectful manner in which he conducted himself during debates with such apologists such as William Lane Craig and Professor John Lennox. Now, as I mentioned, Christopher Hitchens is an anti-theist and gathered occasionally with his fellow atheist buddies, Richard Dawkins, Daniel Dennett, and Sam Harris. Together, they were called the Four Horsemen. It's a bit much. Hey, I thought these guys were the Four Horsemen.
I'm gonna buy the Four Horsemen right here!
No, that's a different group of guys. So there are 8 horsemen? Wait, I thought these guys were the Four Horsemen. 12 horsemen? No, Hitchens died, so there are only 11 now. And Ole Anderson got kicked out of the original Four Horsemen, so perhaps we're only down to 10? Guys, there are only 4 horsemen. The other guys just call themselves that. Well, which ones are real? These guys. Crikey! Look, let's get back on track. The purpose of the video is that I want to address something that Christopher Hitchens said while debating his brother Peter Hitchens. Peter was once an atheist, but has for years been a Christian. Here, Christopher gives his opinion why he, and also no one else, should be a Christian.
The main reason for this, I think, is that it is a totalitarian belief. It is the wish to be a slave. It is the desire that there be an unalterable, unchallengeable, tyrannical authority who can convict you of thought crime while you are asleep, who can subject you, who must indeed subject you, to a total surveillance around the clock, every waking and sleeping minute of your life, I say of your life, before you're born, and, even worse, and where the real fun begins, after you're dead. A celestial North Korea. Who wants this to be true? Who but a slave desires such a ghastly fate?
Okay, I'm smacked with the immediate irony here that Hitchens is comparing God to an atheist state. Why is North Korea a slave state? Because their culture is not built on the Judeo-Christian worldview, a worldview that promotes the rights of individuals, a belief system that says we should love our neighbors, practice forgiveness, and stand up for others. In North Korea, their leader is God, and he cares little about the rights or welfare of his people. We see similar restrictions on personal liberties in China and other atheistic states around the world. If you want to see what happens when you're angry at God or don't believe in him, research Ukraine's Holodomor, a man-made famine that conservatively killed over 3 million Ukrainians. Or research China's Great Leap Forward that killed tens of millions of Chinese. Hitchens is taking the characteristics of his own belief system and attributing them to God. He either foolishly or intentionally believes that freedom from God would translate to freedom from repression. He chooses to ignore that God is who provides us the freedom that he craves. And those that formed our government not only believed in God, but believed he gave us certain unalienable rights. These rights that Christopher enjoyed while living under US or British rule are the rights to smoke, drink, rail against the government, use an unfiltered, uncensored version of the internet. He compares God to a tyrant, but God never smacked a cigarette from his mouth or took the booze out of his hand. On the contrary, God gave Christopher the free will to reject him time and time again. If God were the overbearing, intolerant, totalitarian despot that Christopher accused him of being, then why did he permit Christopher to continue objecting to his very existence? Such rhetoric would never be permitted in North Korea. Christopher might suggest, because God doesn't exist. Then why so angry at him? Because he commands us to love our neighbors as ourselves? To forgive someone repeatedly? To practice charity and help the needy? No. It must be because God is omniscient and omnipresent. He knows all our thoughts and all our actions, and Christopher does not want to be judged in this life or the next for his anger, bitterness, or pettiness. God's love for Christopher is what Christopher refuses to acknowledge or understand. Yes, bad things in this world happen to good people. We do not live in the paradise that God originally intended for us. A world free of disease, lust, strife, and greed. Perhaps this is what angers atheists. But there are many blessings in this world from God for which we neglect to thank Him. The blue sky, a warm day at the beach, the birth of your children, hitting a home run, acing an exam, avoiding an accident, the purr of your pet cat, watching your favorite team win the Super Bowl, paying for someone else's dinner, a skilled surgeon, making it to the gas station when your car is on empty, finding your missing car keys, a warm house on a cold night, a hug from a loved one, watching your child get married. Yes, tornadoes suck. Hey, good pun there, Ryder. Tornadoes do literally suck. That's not what I meant. Yes, hurricanes blow. He did it again! Fleas, mosquitoes, ticks. They bite. Stop it, you're killing me. And war. What is it good for?
What is not a damn thing?
Here's what we cannot lose sight of. Paul said, "For I consider that the suffering of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us." Paul acknowledges that there are sufferings. We all know about suffering. Even God, as he hung in agony on the cross. But the eternal glory that awaits us lasts at famine, disease, and disaster. Once we experience the joys of heaven, you won't remember your past pain any more than you remember a skinned knee or a stubbed toe. Yes, Christopher is correct. God is always with us. He is with us at Disney World, and He is with us when we're chained to a wall. He's with us when we blow out our candles and when we are swept away in a flood. He is with us when we build a new house and when we are trapped beneath its rubble. But why do we complain about one and forever forget to give thanks for the other? There's a story that was told about the Holocaust. It happened in a prison camp, and they rounded up some men that morning and they were hanging them. And one of the people they hanged was a young boy. Well, when they dropped him, the weight was not enough to kill him instantly. And he struggled there in the noose, dying slowly. And one of the men in the group of other prisoners observing said, "Where is God?" And as this boy dangled and struggled for life, for air, as the life went out of him, someone asked the question again, "Where is God?" And as someone else responded, "He is there. He's hanging from that noose." God is with us all the time, in all our sufferings. God sent His only Son to die, to suffer for us. He knows all too well about suffering, as the nails were driven through His hands and His leg, as He stood there on the cross gasping for air, the splinters going through His back after His back was scourged. The word excruciating was created to define the painful experience of being crucified. Jesus knows all about pain. He knows all about suffering. And believe me, God does not want us to suffer. But He will not make us robots. He gives us the free will to love others, to be a blessing to others, but also to persecute others and be part of the problem that we all complain about. So anyway, this is what I want to say in closing. To Christopher Hitchens' family, All peace and love and joy and many blessings to you. Christopher Hitchens was in many ways a great man. I don't agree with him. I believe in God. I don't believe he's a tyrant. I believe his omnipresence is there to be always with us for when we fall, to pick us up, to hug us, to dust us off, and to try to make us stronger. Anyway, on that note, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. I know this may be boring to some of you, but perhaps some of you find it interesting. If you did, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. Please go ahead and just share this with anybody you think who might be interested in it. And go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the bell notification so you're notified when we post new videos. But as always, we love you and have a blessed week.